Hey, what's going on everyone? In this video I'm going to take you through the all new Hex Proxies dashboard and show you how to activate and generate your proxies. So once you purchase a plan from Hex Proxies, you're going to want to go on the site and head over to the dashboard, which can be found on the top right of the site. Once you're signed into your account, you should see a dashboard with all the different proxy types that Hex offers, and here's where we'll activate and generate our proxies. So if we click on this drop down over here on the left, we see there's 4 different proxy types. There's data centers, CAPTCHAs, residential X, and residential 1. So I'm going to take you through these one by one and show you how to activate and generate your proxies for each one. So starting with data centers, on the left side we could see how much time is remaining on our plan. The standard plans are 30 days or 720 hours. And that could also be seen in the middle of the page here, the start date and end date for your current plan. Now these data center proxies are IP auth proxies. So that means before we could actually use them, we need to authenticate our IP address. So with this new dashboard, authenticating your IP is just as simple as hitting this authenticate button in the bottom left here. And this will take your current IP address, whichever device you're signed into, and it'll automatically authenticate that IP address. So if you want to use your proxies on your home computer, then sign into the Hex dashboard on your home computer and press authenticate. If you want to use these data center proxies on a server, then sign into the Hex dashboard on your server, and then in the bottom left press authenticate. So once I did it, we see success in the top right, and if we click on this drop down here in the top right, we could see all our different authenticated IP addresses. Now it's important for your data center proxies that you check that your IP is authenticated here. If it's not, then your proxies are not going to work. So make sure that you press authenticate in the bottom left and make sure that your IP address is added here. And you only want it added once. If it's added twice, your proxies are not going to work. To delete an IP address, you could press this little trash can here once you select it, and that'll remove that IP address from being authenticated with your proxies. Now once we authenticated our IP address, you could either copy your proxies by pressing this copy button, and then we could just directly paste them into our bot, or you could press the download button, and that'll give you a text file containing your proxies. So once our IP is authenticated, I can go ahead and copy the proxies down here, and if I go into a sneaker bot, I can press add proxies and paste my proxies in, and then I can test them and they all test positively. Now if my IP wasn't authenticated, these would all come up as bad. So again, the most important thing is make sure you auth your IP address. So here's a recap of what you have to do for the data center proxies. Make sure you sign into the Hex dashboard on whichever device you want to use your proxies on. So if you want to use it on your computer, then sign into the Hex dashboard on your computer. If you want to use it on a server, then sign in on a server. Next, you're going to want to authenticate your IP address just by pressing the authenticate button in the bottom left. After your IP address is authenticated once, then you could either copy your proxies or download them and then just directly paste them into your sneaker bot. Now if your plan has the option to renew or top up to add some more time, then there should be a little refresh button under your renew or top up column here that you could press and add some more time to your proxies. And that's it for the data centers. Let's now move on to the CAPTCHA proxies. So your CAPTCHA proxies are meant to go in your CAPTCHA solvers and also help you train your Gmail accounts for both reCAPTCHA v2 and reCAPTCHA v3. So that means both on Shopify sites and Adidas Yeezy Supply, these CAPTCHA proxies should have you covered. Again, similar to the data center proxies, these are on a 30-day basis, so they're going to last for 30 days from the day you bought them. So either 30 days or 720 hours. Same length of time. Now you don't have to worry about authenticating your IP address for your CAPTCHA proxies. All you have to do is select CAPTCHA in the top left, and then you could either copy or download your proxies directly from here. So if I copy them, then my proxies will be copied to my dashboard, and I can paste them in whatever I need, let's say my CAPTCHA solvers, or AYCD to train my Gmail accounts. So these CAPTCHA proxies are not meant to run in your tasks, they're meant to train your Gmail accounts and to be used in your CAPTCHA harvesters. So as an example, I just took all those proxies, I copied them, and I pasted them into this text document here. Now instead of using these CAPTCHA proxies in my tasks, which you wouldn't want to do, you would use these in your CAPTCHA solvers. So I might copy one of them, and then go into my sneaker bot and paste it in the CAPTCHA solver in the proxy section of that CAPTCHA solver. So that's what you would use these CAPTCHA proxies for. These proxies aren't actually used to run in your tasks, they're used for your CAPTCHAs either in your CAPTCHA solvers or to train your Gmail accounts in programs like AYCD, Wraith, or Codai Essentials. And again, to renew your plan, you could simply press the little refresh button under the renew column, and then you could add some more time to your plan. So to summarize your capture proxies, all you have to do is log into the dashboard and either copy or download your proxies. That's it. And then you would paste them into whichever captcha solvers you wanted, or into a program like AYCD to train your Gmail accounts. Moving on to the residential proxies, we're going to go over the Residential X dashboard. So Residential X are a plan from Hex offered that are meant to work on every site. And here's where you can generate your proxies. So first, over here on the left, we could see our data usage. So however many gigabytes you bought, you could see that over here and how much you have used. Now under this data usage chart, you're going to see an amount here. So this is how many proxies you want to generate. So if you want to generate 200, then you would enter 200 in this box. Now you have a few more options for these residential proxies here. In the top, you have static or rotating. Static means the IP is not changing, and rotating means the IP does change every so often. Now if you want to know which proxies to use on which sites, I would recommend referencing the Hex Proxies Discord, as that stuff can kind of change, and I don't want to put out any blanket statements here because that could always change on specific sites. But generally on most sites you're going to be using static proxies. So I'm going to go ahead and select static here, and these are for sneakers, so I'm going to select sneakers. Now over here for the type of proxies, we have a ton of different options here. We have Supreme, Foot Sites, Shopify, Yeezy Supply, X1, X2, X3, and which one you use depends on which site you're running. So you have a bunch of different options here, and I'm definitely going to recommend referencing the Hex Proxies Discord as to which ones to use because it might change at certain times. But of course some of this could be self-explanatory. If you want to run Yeezy Supply, then you could try using some of the Yeezy Supply sections here. And you could always try generating some from each and bringing them into your sneaker bot and testing them and seeing which ones work best. You could mix them, it's completely up to you. But generally all these proxies should be working well. And on a lot of sites, X1, X2, and X3 should also work. So when it says OS X and Windows, it doesn't actually mean you have to be on OS X or Windows. That's just the type of proxies that the servers are hosted on. So you don't specifically have to worry about that. So for this example, I'm going to select X1, and I put 200 down here. So I'm going to download a file with my 200 proxies. And then once I open my file, I can see all my proxies here. So I'm going to take a few of them and copy them. And then what I'll do is once I copy them, I could just paste them into my sneaker bot, do some testing, and make sure they're all valid. And then you could run with those proxies. So of course you can generate from different sections here, whichever ones are recommended to you, or whichever ones you kind of want. You could just generate some and test them out. And again, I would always recommend referencing the Hex Proxies Discord, as they'll tell you which ones generally work best on each site. Now in the middle of the screen, you can see the start date and the end date for your plan, and you'll see which plan you bought and if it's active or expired. And that's it for the Residential X plan. All you have to do is select the different types of proxies you want, and you download them or copy them. You don't have to worry about IP auth or anything like that. And lastly, we're going to move on to the Residential 1 plan. Residential 1, we could see our data usage in the middle of the screen, and we could also see our start date and end date for our plan. So if you want to add more data to your plan, you could click the little refresh button under the renew top-up column, and then you can go ahead and add some more data to your plan. Make sure you use the coupon code if one is presented to you. Now to actually generate our Residential 1 proxies, that'll happen all in the left side of the screen. So first we have static or rotating, and static the IP does not change, rotating the IP will change. And again, reference the Hex Proxies Discord as to which one to use, but generally on most sites you're going to be using static proxies. Next we have the region, and of course there's US, Canada, UK, and there's also basically a lot of countries here. So if you're looking to run for a specific country or specific region, then you could select them here. So for this example, I'm just going to use the USA. Next we're going to select the ISP for our proxies in this box. Now some ISPs are going to work better on certain sites, but for that you want to reference the Hex Proxies Discord, as that information could always change, and I don't want to put out any blanket statements here that could change in the future. But if we see here, we got like AT&T, CenturyLink, Charter, Comcast, Optimum, Sprint, T-Mobile, all these companies that we could choose from. Now you could select multiples. So let's say I select AT&T 1, and I'll also do T-Mobile and maybe Verizon, and that'll select proxies from each pool and pull them together for you, so you'll have a mix of all of them. So this box on the bottom will tell you how many proxies you can generate. It is unlimited, but for each time there's a limit of 10,000 proxies. So if you generate a bunch, and then you could just keep generating and it'll give you more IPs to use. So for this example, I'm just going to do 1,000. Now I could either copy my list or I could download it, and downloading it will give me a file with all my proxies in it. And then I could just open up that file, copy my proxies, and paste them into my bot. So if I go ahead and copy these proxies, I could head over to my bot and paste them in, and then I can go ahead and run my tasks with them. I could test them to make sure they're valid, and then I can go ahead and use them. Now say if I wanted to generate another 1,000, I could download another list, and that'll give me 1,000 more IPs. So they're not going to be the same. You could just keep generating again and again if you wanted to. And that's it. You don't have to worry about IP authentication for Residential 1, and you should be good to go with these proxies. And that's it for this Hex Proxies dashboard overview. Hopefully this helped, and if you do need support, you can either email, Twitter, or go on the Hex Proxies Discord, and you should be able to get any support that you need. I do recommend that you read the FAQ first before you actually ask any questions, as most questions can be answered by reading the FAQ. Alright everyone, good luck with your proxies.